What's up, guys? Welcome to Broke Boys Manifesto. Today's video is going to be about why I think a revolver is still a very relevant carry option. It's a little windy here today, so my audio might not be the greatest, but I got limited recording hours, so we're just got to power through it. With that said, let's get on to the video, and we're going to talk about my top 5 reasons a revolver is a relevant carry option. Now, I've arranged these reasons from least important to most important, so if you hear this first reason here and you're kind of thinking, well, that's not very persuasive, I'm going to leave the video. That's why. The first reason I have is for dry fire training. And I get you can do this with a semi-auto firearm as well, but with a double action revolver like this, it's just made a little bit easier for you, which might persuade you to do it more often. Dry firing with a semi-auto firearm, you have to rack the slide in between every pull of the trigger. This is so you can reset your trigger, of course. So you would pull like that, reset it, pull, reset it, pull. But with a double action revolver like so, you can literally just point, pull, Just made it a little bit easier for you, which it might make you train a little more. It's important to note that if you are going to do this with your revolver, you should check your owner's manual or look it up online on whether it is safe to do with it or so. Some older revolvers, you will damage the gun itself by dry firing them. And then, don't quote me on this, but I'm pretty sure most rimfire revolvers, you're probably going to damage the firearm doing it. So just double check, make sure it's safe to do, and if it is, have a lot of fun with it. Now, my second reason is that you can fit a very large caliber in a very tiny gun. Now, Springfield does make a Glock 19 size 10mm, but if you want to get something that's chambered in something larger like 357 Magnum and you want it to be in a small package, it's pretty much just going to have to be a revolver. Now, I do know of 2 different auto-loading pistols that are chambered in 357 Magnum and up, and that is going to be the Kunin 1911 and then the Desert Eagle. I think it's pretty safe to say that none of us are going to be concealed carrying either of those firearms anytime soon. Now, I would like to mention that there's been a few dipwit gun tubers that have been running around saying that 9mm is just as powerful, if not more powerful, than 357 Magnum. Now, Paul Harrell did make a great, long, drawn-out video on this topic, but I'm just going to give you the short, dumbed-down version just to save us some time. A snub-nosed 357 revolver with a 1.5-inch barrel loaded with pretty standard velocity ammunition will send the same grain projectile a couple hundred feet faster than a Beretta 92FS with a 4.9-inch barrel loaded with plus P 9mm ammunition. So no, 9mm is nowhere near as powerful as 357 Magnum. Now, number 3 is you can fire a revolver from concealment without risking the possibility of a malfunction. Now, I have seen people do this successfully with semi-auto firearms, but generally speaking, you aren't going to dump an entire magazine with your gun in your pocket without causing some form of malfunction. This is because if you shove a firearm like this inside a confined space, there's a good chance that you won't have enough room for the slide and all that to function. If you're in a pocket or something like that, you might get clothing stuck in here, which is going to plug up the gun. Or maybe even because it's in a confined space, your spent casing ain't going to be able to eject properly, which might plug up the whole system in general. You are guaranteed the first round whenever you have a semi-auto firearm if you are going to shoot that on your clothing, so you can take that chance if you want to, but I mean, you're really only guaranteed the first round. After that, it's kind of a guessing game on when this firearm is going to quit working properly. Now, the nice thing about a little pocket revolver like this that does not have an external hammer, the hammer is within the body, which means when it goes back and forth, it isn't going to get caught on a piece of clothing or things like that. The cylinder does rotate, but the likelihood of you getting clothing in that and stuck is basically none. Also, having a heavy double action trigger like this gun is pretty much safe to carry in your pocket without a holster, which most semi-auto firearms would not be, like Glocks and stuff like that, SIGs. You could use maybe like an SADA firearm or just a double action semi-auto in your pocket, but once again, you're going to have all these other issues of it plugging up and jamming. You're pretty much guaranteed with a revolver like this, whatever amount of ammunition you can fit in it is how many rounds you're going to be able to fire from concealment. This could come in handy if a situation is getting a little dicey and you don't want people to know you have a gun, or maybe there's some sketchy individuals approaching you on the sidewalk or things like that. You can place your hand in your pocket, get a good hold of your firearm, and if you don't have enough time to pull up and get a good draw, you have that peace at mind knowing that you can actually fire successfully from inside your pocket. Also, you can fire from inside your pocket maybe if you want to get off the first shot without ever giving away that you are carrying a firearm. Now, my number 4 reason is placing your muzzle against an attacker while firing. Now, the reason you can't do this with a semi-auto firearm is when you place the barrel and push it up against an attacker or something of that nature, you'll actually force the gun out of battery, which will not let you engage your trigger, and pretty much you're just shit out of luck. But with a revolver, you can place it as hard as you want against an attacker, and you can pull the trigger as many times you want. This gun's not gonna fail you. Now, in a scenario where this happened, you're not only going to be putting a .357 size hole into your attacker, but you're also going to be putting all the hot pressurized gases that escape this barrel into the same hole, which is going to expand that wound cavity and make it even more lethal. Now, since most civilian-involved shootings take place between 3 and 5 yards, having a firearm that's going to reliably function instead of one that plugs up after the first round might do you a whole of a lot more good when you're on the ground wrestling for your life against a cracked-out homeless man. Now, number 5, and this is the number 1 reason I think a revolver is still a very practical carry option: reliability and ease of use. Now, I love auto-loading pistols. Almost everything I carry is auto-loading, except for this little firearm here, which is my pocket carry, but for the most part, I do not recommend an auto-loading pistol for the majority of people when it comes to a self-defense firearm. One of the reasons is being that most people will never shoot a semi-auto handgun nearly enough to ever understand the amount of issues you can have with one. Taking your wife to the range once a year is not going to teach her how to use this. If she isn't interested in firearms and she isn't actually going to take the time to learn one of these, buy her a fucking revolver. If anyone spent a good amount of time with inexperienced shooters, especially women, you probably know that they very often will limp wrist a semi-auto firearm. Something like this happens in a controlled, safe environment. I couldn't imagine this happening less in a life or death situation. Now, most civilian-involved incidents involve armed robbery or sexual assault. Since they usually take place very fast at very short ranges, it's unlikely a trained shooter would have time to clear a malfunction, let alone an inexperienced one. I had to recommend an everyday carry firearm to the vast majority of people, especially your wife, that shoots her gun maybe once or twice a year. I would pick a hammerless snub-nosed revolver like you see here. Not only because of all the things I've mentioned here today, but if you can teach your wife how to point and pull the trigger on this, you've basically taught her everything she needs to know on how to save her own life with a firearm design that is virtually unfuck-uppable. Now, I know a lot of you fall for this capacity is all that matters trend, but I'd much rather my wife have a guaranteed 5 than a guaranteed 1 with a possible 14. So guys, that pretty much sums it up today, but before we go, I would like to mention the company that's been sending me these awesome reactive targets. These here are made by Triumph Systems. So each of these kill zones has these little pouches that have ink in them, and when you hit that with your handgun, you get this, or rifle, whatever you're using, you get this like reactive visual bloody effect, and it just makes training a lot of fun. Each of these pouches is actually an independent of one another, so as you can see, I've hit these ones here, but you can see I've shot this thing a couple handfuls of times, and I still have a ton of pouches that I can still hit. So you could shoot the shit out of this thing for a long time and still not have to get a new target. Now, I'm not getting paid to promote these targets, but I pretty much worked out a deal with them that they're gonna send these to me for free as long as I keep showing them in my videos. As of right now, that's our deal. But I did think that you guys would love to maybe get a discount code on these because I love shooting them, and I'm guessing you guys are gonna love shooting them. So there's gonna be a discount code on their website you can use. It's BBM10. They make tons of other reactive targets, so you wanna go check those out. But BBM10 will get you 10% off any order, so use that if you go to their website, and that'll save you a little money. The only targets that aren't covered from that are their $1 targets and their steel targets, but I'll be leaving a link in the description below, and I'll also be leaving the discount code so you don't really have to remember it. The link will probably go to that target I just showed you, and then if you guys want to scroll around their website, check some of the other stuff out. They got some cool like ink pouches you could shoot, stuff like that. Overall though, guys, I think this is going to be the end of the video. I hope you learned something from it. If you did learn something from it, Please let me know in the comments what you learned. If you want me to improve on something, I understand it's windy as fuck out and I should probably get a nice microphone. I'll probably do that before my next video. But yeah, if you guys want me to improve on something, or if you learned something in this video, please comment down below. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you learned, and maybe we can chat about it. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you in the next one.